our pod, Minnesota Black Robe Regiment, and you are tuning in for another Drive Time Dialectic. So, hope that notifications reaching you on this. YouTube is acting a little funky today. I don't know what was going on. So I tried to say that I had set this up as a go live together, and I hadn't. But what do I know? I'm just a technology nerd, or not a nerd. Actually, I'm not very technologically savvy. Actually, so that's what's up. So hey, Bip, good to see you. Channel mods, when you tune in, there's only a couple of things that'll get people automatically kicked off my channel. Any attempts at ethnic or racial and provocation, automatically I want them gone. So I don't put up with that of any kind of racism. So Lou, good to see you. Hope you guys are snarky. Good to see you. But yeah, hope you'll take a chance to go back and read the description when the live is done, and I hope that everybody is sharing this out. Everybody's remembering to hit the like button. Big shout out to the Angry Vet once again. I'm going to be talking about my show producers, and Angry Vet has earned his place with that, and IMAP from Subscribestar as well. So, well, thanks, Pip. I appreciate that. That's very nice of you. Want to give everybody a heads up. I am doing a live stream this evening at 8 p.m. Central as well with Nate from the world famous Nate and Sam, who got married here on the channel last week. Well, they didn't get married on the channel. We streamed their wedding ceremony on the channel, I should say. But Nate's joining me at 8 o'clock to talk about recent developments in the prosecution of Sam and what's going on there. So I couldn't read what your did that say FUTC? It did, didn't it? It did. Well, thanks a lot, Bib. But that's not racially inflammatory. So yeah, so Nate's joining me tonight at 8 to talk about what is going on and what's happening in Sam's the persecution of Sam, retaliatory arrest and charges that were used to try and intimidate Nate and Sam. So that'll be at 8 o'clock tonight, so tune in. So 1 month ago today, Nikki's here. Mimi, hello, Mimi. So 1 month ago today, there was another Minnesota State Patrol trooper involved in an accident. And as most of you know, I covered that story and I, made some predictions. The only one of them thus far has borne out. And that is, I knew that we were going to be at least a month before we got any reporting from the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department about the accident. Well, I waited until close of business today. I even sat around. Well, hello from Russia. Thank you for joining. I sat around and waited after work to make sure that there wasn't a right at the close of business, right at the end of the day, administrative command staff from the Rochester, Minnesota Police Department heading out the door as they're posting the conclusion of their investigation. I wanted to give it an exact month. And as has proven, or has been proven by me before, they are still not done with this investigation, as far as anybody in the public knows. And if you go and read my statement or the description of this video, I include their entire statement from the day after the accident, the day after they launched the investigation. And it's very clear they're not naming the trooper involved. While they'll name every other suspect that's being investigated for anything else, they're not naming the trooper involved here. Strange, right? Sounds a little strange, doesn't it? And there's been no new updates. So that has to, I don't care who you are, if you are really being objective in your, dare I say, critical thinking and criticism of the career field of law enforcement, you're going to have to look at a month-long investigation into what was really ultimately 2 minor traffic accidents. So the way this breaks down is there was a traffic accident, minor traffic accident. One of the people who was involved in the traffic accident got out of their vehicle and fled on foot. Now, when you're fleeing a traffic accident, that is rather suspicious. I'll grant you that. But this trooper, according to Minnesota State Patrol, immediately at the time of the accident, released a statement saying the trooper was running lights and sirens. So Minnesota State Patrol wanted to get out ahead of that, and for some reason felt it necessary to make the statement that the trooper was running lights and sirens. Now, I have done a couple of videos subsequent out that Minnesota law, state statutes, make it clear that law enforcement has to run code if they're going to break or violate traffic code in response to something. And that their response has to be commensurate with the level of the emergency. So now we have to ask ourselves, just because this trooper was responding to an accident where one of the people fled the scene of the accident on foot, does that justify, in a non-life-threatening, non-injury accident, does that justify running lights and sirens to a non-emergent accident? Put a one in the chat, or if you're watching this on playback, make a comment. But right now, put a one in the chat and say, yes, he's totally justified in running lights and sirens to a non-emergent accident scene where one of the people fled on foot. Or put a 2 in the chat if you think that it could be justifiable, but we may not ever know why, or a 3 in the chat if you think it's ridiculous. Wait, Juan? Don't put a Juan in the chat. A one. Don't put Juan in the chat. I don't want Juan in here right now. Just because I don't like Juan. That's the only reason. Okay, Nikki's saying, too, there could be justifiable reason for him to run code, but we may never know. Okay, I like to see that. So we have one smartass, Bip. We have one reasonable person, Nikki. So, oh, it's really bright. Yeah, what? Yeah, the law in Minnesota states you have to, as an operator of an emergency vehicle, you still have a responsibility to drive with due care in running code. So now, Mr. Nikki, you just said 2 because you don't want to run afoul of the misses. We know how this works. So H. Fred says, let me see. He's running. You're running late and you're running light and sirens. I hear sirens. I hide. Therefore, running without light and sirens, you might see him. Yeah, but they're not allowed to run if they're going to respond in an emergent way. They have they have to run lights and sirens. And there are some agencies, and we're going to do a breakdown of some of the agencies that allow their officers. We'll put this out as a teaser. They allow their law enforcement officers to violate state statute. Let that sink in. They have enacted policies that tell their employees that it's okay for them to break the law. Policies. So yeah. So I'm going to assume that the State Patrol is correct and that this trooper was responding with lights and sirens. Now the question, and the reason why I would assert that there's even an investigation, is because there's a question of whether or not the trooper was responding with due care, with driving with diligence as it regards public safety. Biff, you're correct. Their work is worth loving. If those of you, somebody put a link to the Vigilance Committee's channel in here, please. And mods, put other people's links if they have channels that they want shared. But yes, definitely put Vigilance Committee's link in the chat, in the live stream chat. Vigilance Committee is quickly proving themselves to be the most, if not one of the most, if not the most important channel on the platform, and I have a lot of reasons for that and saying that. So I really want my audience to check them out and see their content. Their panel conversations are amazing, especially when I'm on. But so I would, like I said, I would assert that the reason that the investigation is even taking place is because there's a question about how the trooper was responding. And the struggle that I have, though, is why is it taking so long? And that's what really concerns me, because I don't know, if you think that the length of this investigation, 1 month for an accident that did not result in any major medical emergency, and then a follow-on accident brought on by State Patrol response to the original accident, we still have no conclusion to the investigation at all. That anyone at all is willing to share thus far. 1 month, a full month since that last accident, or since that accident, and no one's got any information. If you think that that's just normal, put a 1 in the chat. If you think it reeks of a cover-up, put a 2 in the chat. Yeah, Starkey is correct. They're just trying to be thorough in their cover-up. Now, I had my concerns about Trooper Shane Roper, the investigation into him, and whether or not it would lead to charges. I still have serious concerns about the nature of the pending criminal trial of Trooper Shane Roper. I just want other people to understand, like, this guy's out, this trooper who murdered Olivia Flores on May 18th is still out. Now, he doesn't have his job anymore. I can't imagine it's easy for him to get a job or even, want to have a job right now with everything that's hanging over his head. I know. It probably sounds mean of me to say this, but I hope he loses everything. he has a right to his day in court. I will never try to take that away from him. But let's put it. Was Olivia Flores, who. What happened? Did the stream stop? That's weird. Can you guys still hear me? Are we 5x5? It says I'm still live, so I'm going to just keep talking. Yeah, it's really weird. It stopped and it started the timer over, so I have no idea how long we've been going now. I told you, YouTube's acting really weird today. So, if Olivia Flores had been driving at that excessive rate of speed and she had killed Trooper Shane Roper, you guys tell me where Olivia Flores would be today. Where would Olivia Flores be today if that had been her responsible for that accident and she killed Trooper Roper? Let's just. She'd be. Okay, it's doing it again. It's very weird. I have no idea what's going on. That is so strange. YouTube does not like me right now. So, now, oh, by the way, everybody, AVA is going to be on the Vigilance Committee on Sunday. So you are all of my subscribers and all of my channel members. That is a mandatory meeting. Mandatory. Absolutely mandatory. AVA's story is next to Tav's story is one of the most important stories taking place in the United States right now. Not even lying. And if you have not subscribed to his channel, you need to get on it. So, forgive me if I'm having trouble believing that they're not going to try to drag this out and make people forget that it ever happened. And I think we have a right to demand answers. I think we have a right to. We have a duty to demand that they answer these questions. And I'm sick and tired of the fact that they can release massive amounts of information about every other person they arrest, every other person they interact with. But when it comes to law enforcement, it's zip our lips, shut it down. And here we sit, what should be a simple investigative work should be done. It should absolutely be done and over with. There's no reason on God's green earth why at all they couldn't have wrapped this up. So that tells me that there's something going on. There's no way in the world that a month into this investigation and we don't know. Roadhog says, I hate vertical on a phone. I do vertical because believe it or not, it pushes when you go vertical from your phone. It pushes you into two algorithm streams. It pushes you into shorts, and it pushes you into a live stream feed when you go vertical. So instead of just being pushed into the live stream, I'm getting pushed into the shorts feed. And so people think they're watching a short, they click on, and hopefully they hear something that they like, and we keep them engaged. Um, I don't think that it has something to do with it being vertical. It has something to do with some people, their phones are set up with their YouTube accounts, um, that they cannot open links on their phones in vertical. It's weird. I don't have any trouble with it. I can open it, but it also gets lots of trolls. Oh, absolutely. I love the trolls unless they come in and do, say, like racially inflammatory stuff. And my channel mods all know. Oh, yes. One thing that is that's racially. I despise racism and ethnic hatred. So I this is a typical dialectic, you guys. Just because it's free flow thought. I haven't put a lot of thought into this other than I'm just concerned. And part of the reason that I'm concerned is that what I'm seeing is that even the who want to see police reform lose touch with these stories, and they don't follow up. And I think when we look at the Mockingbird media, mainstream media, and if you're not familiar with Operation Mockingbird, you really need to dig into it, because Operation Mockingbird is a legit, historically verified. This person is going to try and kill themselves, or okay, oncoming traffic. Just look into Operation Mockingbird. Here's why it's important. Operation Mockingbird has conditioned people, not just from its inception, but especially with the inception of the 24-hour news cycle. Now, some of you are going, well, what do you mean a 24-hour news cycle? There was a time, some of us are old enough to remember, when your TVs, even when you had cable, channels went off the air at midnight. A lot of channels did. Unless, even with cable, unless it was something like MTV or something like that. But all of your network television stations and whatnot, they all went off air at a certain time of night, and that changed throughout the history of TV. And when they decided to it's a click rate. What's the watch rate? What's the view rate? What's the view duration? No, because you have YouTube channels or you have other platforms. You do have to pay attention to these things. You do have to, if you're going to do this, if you're going to commit to doing these things, you do have to do things that are going to bring viewers in. But what that has created is a tendency for the attention span, not just for a show, but the attention span for a topic or an issue or a very particular investigation or whatever the case might be, it's brought the attention span down and narrowed it down. And that has worked to ultimately benefit cover up by the part of the state, the government. And that's bore out, and I believe, in this situation with this most recent state patrol accident in Rochester, Minnesota. For first few days, all the local media outlets were reporting it. They were saying, "Hey, there's been another accident. It's under investigation," and people were commenting. And right away, you had the back to blue at all cost types who came out immediately started blaming the other driver. And then you had the all cops are bastard types come out and immediately, assume that the cop was trying to kill somebody. And then it died. Neither side is talking about it anymore. No one's talking about it. And we have got to get better in the accountability activism community. And if I can do one thing with you guys, that will be to get you guys to start using that terminology, accountability activism, not members of the 1A community or the 1A auditing community or the 2A auditing community. And we should be accountability activists. And we should be very strong in our community. And we should be pushing and keep pushing stories like this out into the news feed as much as possible in whatever way we can, and whatever methodology, because that's how we affect change. Cliff, it's doing it again. How did he phrase it? Local media, or media in general, will not cover stories that really should be covered and that they should be digging into until somebody else basically dumps the story in their lap. Please tell me you're kidding. Please tell me that's not serious. Good God. Chili does some great stuff, but man, is he. What a narcissist, if that's true. If that's true, that is utter narcissism. That's just. Good God. Oh. So, I'm going to trademark accountability activist community. Oh, what a. Oh, for the love of God. So, really, this is. There's a cover up going on. Targeted patent. Hello, thanks for tuning in. We're all convinced there's a cover up going on, right? That's what it is. We know there's some, even if they release information and say that the trooper was clearly in the wrong, but there will be no criminal charges because it'll just be uh, ticketable offense. Like, we know that this is a cover up. We know that somehow they're working behind the scenes to make this go away for the trooper. And if it's found out that he was the cause of the accident, then there'll be a slap on the wrist. We won't even be told what that is because, and I, to some degree, I don't. We can't just expect cops to be the only ones who have their entire records out there in the open. If we're going to demand that cops have their records out there in the open, then every person who works in the public sector, even the janitor, their write-ups and discipline history and all of that stuff should all be out in the open as well. I wouldn't necessarily be opposed to that, but I believe in equality of treatment for people in the public sector because they all get paid by the wage slaves. So breaking that all down, yes, we investigated ourselves and found that we did nothing wrong. Cliff is 100% right that the only way that we get these stories to get, gain traction, to be reported on and dug into, is by continuing to push this out into the stream of people's consciousness. They have to be kept abreast, and we have to keep reminding them that these things are happening. And that's why it's so important for us to be paying attention to these things. It's so very important. And we're gonna gain a lot of heat or get a lot of heat for that. Well, we're not gonna get a lot of traction. A lot of us, we're not gonna all be angry vet who just accidentally discovers the hell that's happening to the people in the VA and through at the hands of law enforcement, and just all of a sudden his channel explodes up, just blows up. I mean, that's when you talk to Tav, his channel blew up by accident because Tav wasn't looking at doing what he's doing now. That was never his intent. Flex did not intend. His goal in life was not to have a massive YouTube channel. There are some out there who I do believe were headed that way. Look, have you checked out the police record? Is that at the channel, or is that a channel of some sort? If it is, send me a link. But like when I started mine, I had no I have one other channel that I don't use much at all. If I mean, it's been a year since I've done anything with it. That channel's got barely 100 subscribers. When I started this, I was like, okay, nobody's going to listen to me. I know I being monetized, having channel memberships, none of that was on my mind. And now I'm using it, I'll be honest with you, because I need it. I absolutely need it because of what I, gave up in, for starting the channel. Now, I say that to say, like, we don't all have to have 50,000, 60,000, 100,000 subscribers. We don't all have to have 30,000. We don't all have to have 5,000 or 10,000. If there are hundreds of channels with 150, 200, 400, 500 subscribers, all doing this, all across the United States or wherever, but especially here in this what is supposed to be a republic, then imagine the. But a reality where there are thousands of channels doing what I do, what the Vigilance Committee does, what Roadhog and AVA and everyone else. I would much rather there be thousands and thousands with a smaller subscriber base. getting traction than just a handful of really. You could be very much in touch with what's going on in your community and talking about it and getting it out so that it's getting attention in your areas and growing because people like me watch it and talk about it. And then Roadhog watches and talks about it. And then Nikki and Cliff and then AVA and on and on and on. So ready to have Nate on. You guys make sure you tune in at 8 o'clock tonight to hear the update on Samantha's case. I love these two. These kids are amazing, and they're strong people. And I really appreciate everyone being here. Targeted Pat, it's good to see you again, um, folks. We've got to keep stories like this alive, not just in my neck of the woods. You talk about. I'll see you guys a little bit later. Till next time. Sic Semper Tyrannis.